Well, my name is Ramon Bril. I'm from Leiden, which is very close to Amsterdam. And the YouTube channel, which I also do work for, because there's multiple interviewers, we do it together, is called Weltschmerz. It's a German name, because we like how this name signifies that there's so much corruption and things are quite rotten in the world. And we are citizen journalists, which means that I'm not a journalist. I don't want to do this. I'm a biochemist. I did not choose to. I don't really want to do this job. It's just that I feel like there's this Pflicht. You know, there's this. It is quite necessary for citizens to stand up, because it's, well, at least in my opinion, it's quite obvious that the standard journalism has been completely corrupted from above. And they are monopolies, they are directed in what they say. And a lot of people will say, wow, that's crazy, how can you think that? Well, I ask you, in that case, how do you explain how this the Coronawelle, the first one, how that got reported, and how it is that we haven't learned anything from the Schweingrippe or the Vogelgrippe. There were kind of very similar cases in which there was like a virus coming over us, which was relatively new. It's not really new, to be honest. It's another coronavirus, and yes, we don't know everything about it, but we also don't know so much about rhinovirus, for example, which is a common virus that everybody has every year. And so, as a biochemist, I thought, well, something is going horribly wrong. We're being mistreated. We're being made afraid, and I thought, well, I should do something. I should interview people, and I'm doing about 2 or 3 interviews every week. We try to get specialists, experts, for example, immunologists or journalists, asking them what is going on. Why do you only report like how many people are dying? Why don't you report the fact that there's no influenza deaths? How come you're forgetting this? How come you're... And so we try, and I have to say, you asked me also, right, what the situation is like in the Netherlands at the moment. In the beginning, it was really difficult to get to people, because people were very afraid. But the Dutch people, they are quite resilient, in my opinion. And this is also one of the reasons why our government didn't really dare do the whole lockdown. We didn't really get a lockdown. It was quite possible for anyone to go outside. We don't use any masks, and so we had it relatively easy, and because of that, not many Dutch people are out and about. But the last few weeks, most Dutch people are starting to get a feeling like something is quite wrong. And I have to say, I'm quite shocked, quite surprised. The last few weeks, the tide is turning in our country, and it's bizarre. And yeah, for example, our YouTube channel was rather small before we started in this Corona crisis, and it explodes up. It's growing quite heavily, so the mainstream media, they noticed this, and oh my god, there's these Verschwörungstheoretiker channel, they're growing, and it's so dangerous, and these people need to be censored, which then make Dutch people like, what, censorship? In my country, are you sure? Like, and then people wake up more, and you know, there was this huge Black Lives Matter demonstration in Amsterdam. You probably also had such demonstrations, and the day after there was a demonstration which was much smaller. There were only 40 people allowed, you know, to demonstrate against this Corona crisis thing, which is the big thing. Black Lives Matter at the moment is not the big thing. It's Corona that's the big thing that we should talk about. We should talk about the fact that our governments are just breaking down these Grundgesetze, as you call it, right? So these are there not to protect each other from other citizens. They are there to protect us from the greatest monopoly you have in a country, which is the government. They are there to protect us from the government. What does the government do? Just because of a little fear for a virus, which is not dangerous, they just take the influenza deaths, a non-dangerous virus, they use it to instill insane amounts of fear, and then they can do whatever the fuck they want. Of course, it's up to you, to anyone, to check out what it is exactly that they want, but in my opinion, it is really time to stand up. Something is not quite well. This seems to me like big government taking over on a massive scale all over the world, and yeah.
I can tell you're following the alternative German news channels. Or how did you know that there is this demonstration here and they're inviting Europe?
Well, a lot of Dutch people know. Although our media is just as corrupt as yours. So what you get in like the Dutch media is like 17,000 people demonstrated, and well, when I look at the photos, you're like, well, I don't think that's 17,000. I can do my own, guesses and estimates. So, but I have to say, if I'm allowed to shout out, I am a very big fan of Ken Jebsen. He is phenomenal in his execution, his precision of asking, his because I'm an interviewer, right? So I care about the way that he executes. I don't know if that's the right word. He executes an interview. He gets an expert, and experts, they are quite able to talk in any direction, so they can talk for hours and hours. But it's punktlich. And he goes from one to the next topic, and he makes a whole arc of a line, and they are fantastic. And I really have to give a big shout out to this guy, because I think he's one of the best interviewers in the whole entire world. Yeah, he's the person I look up to, and he's the guy that when I started doing these interviews, and I was horrible in the beginning, especially, and I just looked at his videos. So what is he doing? What's going on in his mind? And how does he know what to ask and which direction to go? And I really used him as an example of how to do my interviews. Which is, I think a lot of Dutch people will feel a connection with Germany in many ways. So we will always check out what's going on. Because the German people, the Dutch people, we have kind of the same language. Not the same, but you know what I mean. We are very similar people in culture and in the things that we care about. So.
Can you say a number how many Dutch people came to this demonstration?
The thing is, when it comes to such large amounts of people, I've been seeing Dutch people someplace, and the thing is that these Dutch people that are here, I think most of them, this is very arrogant thing to say, but it's just a fact, I think most of them recognize me because of my involvement with the Dutch Corona awakening thing, because of that, a lot of them react to me, so I know which people are Dutch and which are not. But although making estimates in such large amounts of people is very, 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 very difficult. I have to say, at least maybe 500. Maybe I'm stupid when I say that. Could be like an order of magnitude in both. No, not in both directions. Could be, let's say 500. But I'm sorry, it is really, really difficult, because I also have to, I only saw very small areas, maybe it's 1,000.
And all in all, what you think, how many people are here?
Jesus almighty. So the thing is, I tried to do an estimate with my friend here, right? And we walk from one side to the other, right? And there is like multiple lanes coming out of this center here, and everything seems filled. Also, when you walk through the gardens here, there's so many people, so we were like, holy shit, how can you do an estimate? And when it came to estimates, I think you should at least be talking in the hundreds of thousands. And I'm not saying 100,000, I'm saying hundreds of thousands, maybe 4, maybe 6. But if someone does a beautiful demonstration, like if someone flies this helicopter and does a nice estimate, and he also takes into account the people that are just walking here and being here in the gardens, and he will tell me it's 1.5 million, I would also, well, that's a lot, but my father is a physicist, he might know. Wat schat jij?
I would say it's hundreds of thousands.
Hundreds of thousands, yeah, that's what my estimate is.
It's more than 1 million.
Not more than 1 million, no.
But
I'm gonna give you 500,000. That's it. Yeah.
The press is currently saying it's 30,000.
No, it's not 30,000. It's one order of magnitude more at least. And the thing about orders of magnitude is, like, if you make estimations, you can be wrong like 20%, 30%. You're not wrong 1 order of magnitude. That's just propaganda. That's the kind of propaganda that why I stepped up. I'm a biochemist. I don't want to do this fucking shit, bro. But this is the kind of shit. If you're gonna bring propaganda into the world, I don't want another big government totalitarian hellhole in this world. I don't want communism, I don't want fascism, none of that. At least not in the Netherlands, or, well, this is your country. If Germans really want to do it, well, I respect everybody's countries to do whatever they want, but I'd rather not see anyone go by that path ever again. It's horrible.
And how would you rate this demonstration?
Quite good, really, really good, especially because, it's so calm. There's no I've not seen any violence. There's a shit ton of people. I really liked how it felt kind of safe. It's very good. There was one minor point, and that was one the nephew of Kennedy. Kennedy
Robert
was speaking.
F. Kennedy.
Everything was translated, übersetzt. And although of course there are many Germans that might not understand, it really breaks up the talk. I wouldn't want to talk in that way, to be honest with you.
I get you, but Germany is different than the Netherlands in that regard.
Yeah, well,
You're very good English speakers.
True it is,
Yeah.
but we have to...
Can you imagine that his uncle would have had the same situation?
Yeah, sure, you're right.
It's no way to have a good speech.
Yeah.
Sorry. Don't
Maybe
do
you
it.
can maybe you can film it, and for the people that want to see it again, then you can have like a,
Yeah.
you can write it on it.
What do you think could be the outcome of this demonstration? Could it change something?
Yeah, because the thing is, it's very difficult to ignore. That's like, of course, I'd rather there are other ways with which to push more than just to state. But there's two things which I think are extremely important. One is that we all start speaking up and start speaking the things that we think are true, and we don't allow people to silence us anymore, nowhere else. I think this is rather important right now. And the second thing is, people are also waking up because of the fact that there's so much propaganda. I think a lot of people in Berlin know this is more than 30,000. And especially if we say, we keep speaking up about the fact, no, there's at least an order of magnitude more people than that. Order of magnitude, we're talking about 10 times more. This is, you're obviously lying. Anyone who does an honest estimate does not come to 30,000. There is something wrong with how the media presents itself, and they say they are free press, but they're not. I mean, it depends on what you say is free, but if there is a monopoly and all presses and they're all owned by the same people, and I know from journalists from my country that they're quite afraid to lose their job if they speak out in an opposite direction. Now you tell me, what do you define as free press? I think this is the least free press I've seen since 1933, or let's say Bolshevik Revolution 1919, because I think that's equally worse. The Bolshevik Revolution, yeah, free press my ass, that's what they want you to think. But it is not, man. When people are lying on such incredible skills, that is not a free press.
My last question.
Yeah.
To the surprise to many people here, Corona wasn't the only topic. They also talked about the sovereignty of Germany. Mm-hmm. You know, that they want to give themselves a new Verfassung, and that they're not a free country. Verfassung is...
Grundgesetz. The combination of all Grundgesetzen and Verfassung. Okay, yeah.
Do you know something about this topic?
Well, I know a lot about the American Constitution. That's something that I dearly love. I don't like big government, because big government is basically a monopoly, and you have to protect yourself against these monopolies. And they make laws and say that, oh, this is a freedom for this act, or this is the Patriot Act, or whatever act they bring. They will always like, oh, we're doing it for the people, oh, we're thinking about your health. Well, maybe you shouldn't think about my health. Maybe I should be the one thinking about my health. Because when government starts thinking for you, you lose your own capability of thinking, first of all. So stop having governments think for you all the freaking time. But most importantly, they are always growing in their sinisterism. Governments become more sinister over time, because corruption, whether you want it or not, exists in every time of history. It will always exist. So if you give some people too much power, they will abuse it in the end. It will take 10 years, it will take maybe 50 years, but governments over time grow. The size becomes larger, but they also grow more and more corrupt, especially democracies, which is one thing that I would want to have a debate about, because the thing is, I come in a lot of third world countries and they don't really enjoy being in democracies. Why? Democracies are more corruptible, they're easier to corrupt, it's easier to buy a politician who has to fight in a popularity contest to get on top than, for example, a king. If you come to the king and you try, hey, you wanna, if you kill these 50 people with this and this, and you get 2 million, he's like, what the fuck, I'm gonna take off your head, I'm the king, I already have that much money, if I want I can take whatever I want. So I'm not for having a king, by the way, but it is really important to think about how we, how you can make democracies less corruptible. And right now lobbies, doesn't matter which Western country, they're way too powerful.
I think the point that they made about the people giving themselves a new Verfassung is connected to the idea that Germany is not a free country, because there's no freedom contract with the US and Russia and Great Britain. Do you know this?
Yeah, because of the Second World War still, right? Or
because of the Second World
War. Yes.
Do you have an opinion on this?
I have many opinions in this direction, because I also love reading about history. I do that quite a lot. This is a very difficult subject for me to touch on, because I don't even entirely agree with how most Germans view the Second World War. I don't even fully agree with how the world views the Second World War. And this is a very difficult topic. This is also a topic. It is very healthy for people to be ashamed of their own mistakes, but if you are too ashamed of your own mistakes, you're gonna also take the parts which are most beautiful about you away. And Germany to the Netherlands is also a country to look up to in many respects. And for many Dutch people, I'm not speaking for my fellow Dutchmen, they might think I'm crazy, but for many Dutch people, we find the way that Germans view themselves, or Germans view their own country, alienating. It's like the Germans are alienating themselves from their own love for their own people. And this I don't understand, because love for your own family is a very natural thing. The French people are allowed to have it, the Italian people are allowed to have it, the English people and American people are allowed to have it. We Dutch people act like we don't have it, but we do. And then there's German people, and it seems like they want to run away from their own identity. And wars are ugly times. Stop thinking about the war all the fucking time, please. And be proud of the beautiful things you do for other countries too. Because if you ask someone in the world, Japan, China, wherever you go, America, about German people, at least they will have a lot of good things to say. And maybe some crappy things about the tourists, I don't know.